Almost a third, 27% of Bermudians work beyond the age of 65 years old. Half of working seniors work more than 35 hours per week, and that's the Bermuda Government Report 2010. Our median pension incomes are inadequate to meet basic household expenses. Participant responses in Dr. Fleming's study revealed that some older adults are managing financial expenditures through a number of strategies, inclusive of investment and asset management, personal savings, private pensions, the support of family, budgeting techniques, government welfare programs, and paid work. In a 2004 study of a sample of older adults in Bermuda, 77% of respondents indicated that they own their own homes, which may explain why older adults in Dr. Fleming's 2016 study still consider the ownership of property as their tangible asset. The paradox of being asset-rich and cash-poor was identified as doing little to address immediate cash flow challenges associated with meeting basic needs. It is not surprising, therefore, that selling real estate as a means of meeting expenditures featured as an option for older adults in Dr. Fleming's 2016 study. Other asset leveraging options, including downsizing to a smaller home as a method of decreasing expenditure. Institutionalized care or rest home care is just as challenging in Bermuda. The average rest home care can range from $3,500 to $5,000 a month, while skilled nursing care can be as expensive as $10,000 per month or more. Currently in Bermuda, there are 20 registered rest homes and 3 skilled nursing facilities, representing only a few hundred institutional beds available to seniors needing this type of support on the island. At present, there are frighteningly only 3 respite beds available to provide relief support for caregivers on the entire island, leaving the limited 90 acute beds available at the hospital vulnerable to overuse by seniors who cannot be sustained medically or socially in the community. This is a statement of fact. Our guests today in our panel discussion are Mr. John Barrett of the Bermuda Housing Trust, Ms. Desiree O'Connor of the Bermuda Housing Corporation, and Mr. Michael DeFonts of Coldwell Banker Bermuda Realty. I might just add that the general manager was of the Bermuda Housing Corporation was due to be our speaker, and he had to go on a trip, and so he asked Ms. Connor to ably fulfill that position, but he flew in today, and he's here at the meeting. Mr. Barrett, please stand. Okay, all right. And so, I don't know if anybody else, but you've got some support out there. Okay. All right. So, at this time, we're going to just hang on one second. Okay, may I say thank you for being a part of the panel discussion for today. We have some background questions we just want to ask, and we are going to open to the floor now. We will try to take the questions as they are being, you will signify by the raising of your hand, and we'll have somebody bring a microphone to you. please, we realize that can be a very emotional issue, and we expect that some people will want to make a comment before they ask a question, but please, this is not the place to give a long comment. We would like to hear the questions so that our panelists can address them. All right. Okay, Mr. Barrett and Mr. Connor and Mr. Michael DeFonts, in your respective roles in the housing service and market, what are the current trends that you are seeing with respect to the need and demands for seniors housing? So we'll give you each a chance to respond to that. Grab that. Yeah.
Hoping this works. Does it work? Good afternoon, everyone. I think maybe the first thing I'd like to do, Charles, if I may, for people who don't know, the Bermuda Housing Trust is separate and apart from the Bermuda Housing Corporation. And a lot of people don't appreciate what it is that the Bermuda Housing Trust does. And I think it's important that I say that so you'll know what information I bring to the table and insights as well. The Bermuda Housing Trust was established 50 years ago by public statute, and in the elegant words of the language of the statute at that time, it was to initiate and administer one or more schemes for the relief of poverty, suffering, and misfortune among elderly persons in Bermuda by the provision of accommodation for such persons on favorable terms. The situation we have today is 5 properties. You may be familiar with some of them: Hayden in Somerset, Elizabeth Hills by Fort Hamilton, Purvis Park up in Devonshire, Ferguson Park down at Southside, and Dr. Can Park up by behind the Esso gas station up by the, what do they call it? The Rockaway Express. That's right, the ferry terminal. You'll pass it there. 180 units in total, which are rented to seniors who are in need in some form or the other. And they're all fully occupied. And so to answer your question, Charles, I won't be a politician here and avoid it. We have a waiting list that is never drops below 50, sometimes goes as high as 100. And we have people coming into our offices today at age 63, 64, planning for 65 to get on our waiting list. And the rents for these units vary from a low of $800 a month to $975 a month. And our policy is never to raise or rent on a sitting tenant. So if someone acquired a place for a certain rent back in 1994, we keep that rent in place. We try to maintain that rent so that seniors can budget accordingly. And as we have this need, I think that demonstrates, notwithstanding the home ownership that seniors have in Bermuda, that there is a need, and there is a growing need because it's a growing demographic as well. And a number of our tenants will obtain financial assistance. We, the Housing Trust, do not receive financial assistance. We try to run our shop on a tight budget, and that is from the rents that we receive and some donations as well. We do some fundraising to cover our expenses on a year-to-year basis. We do not receive, and the Trust has never received, a grant from the government. I think there was one occasion where there was a donation from government on the eve of an election. But on an annual basis, there's nothing. We're quite proud of that, and we run a very, very lean ship as well. That's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is that money doesn't get spent on infrastructure and staff. The challenging bit is, as you can imagine, that as landlords with 180 units and 5 properties, there are some real challenges keeping up on a daily basis with maintenance and issues that arise on that that basis, and for one person to have to deal with it, and I'll mention her by name, Sharon Smith, she does a tremendously good job, and we've only had her for a year now, very fortunate to find her, and she succeeded another lady, Caroline Burgess, who was a retired nurse, and we weren't sure what we were going to do without her. And, you know, it's important to get the right people in place. But thank God we managed on a day-to-day basis, and I think we do a fairly good job in being landlords. I'll stop there, Charles, before I get accused of going too far. But what I wanted to say is that what we've come to learn is that there is more required of us than just being a landlord. It's got a lot to do with the quality of life that seniors would like to have. And we see an opportunity ahead. What's that opportunity? Not everybody wants to go to a rest home in their twilight years. In fact, most people don't want to go there. And I understand that. I share that. I'm a special person into my first year. And I'm starting to relate. You know, my father used to say to me, youth is a wonderful thing. It's a shame to waste it on young people. And I know now what he means, and I'm trying to apply what insights I gain in order to move the trust in a direction where we not only do bricks and mortar, which is a challenge, but that we start to concentrate on the quality of life. And what do I mean by that? I find that more and more seniors, as they live longer, want to be masters of their own destiny, to be able to be independent for so long as they can, and to have any help and all help that they need, whether it be medical or otherwise, in the home setting. And that intersects very nicely with what's happening in the rest of the world and what our government is talking about, which is more and more home care. What we've got to do is now make the network happen. I'll stop there.
Okay, the Bermuda Housing Corporation's mission statement is as such: to provide accessibility to adequate, affordable housing and promote independent living to enhance the quality of life in Bermuda. Now, since we've been talking about seniors today, which is our main topic and goal for quality of life, we have to look at quality of life for our seniors who are living in our current properties that we have at Bermuda Housing Corporation, and what their life will be like after living independently. Because what we're finding at Bermuda Housing Corporation is that we don't get a lot of applicants who are seniors. They do go to Bermuda Housing Trust. But when we do get seniors, we try to encourage them to go to Housing Trust, or we try to find something that's appropriate within our own, in our own units. We have currently in Bermuda Housing Corporation, we have 23% of the household heads who are between the ages of 50 and 59. And then we have 26% of household heads who are over 60. So that means that there are 49% of our current tenants who are over 50 years old. And what we're seeing as partly as the trends that we see within Bermuda Housing Corporation from an applicant point of view is that from applicants, the average age of applicants that come in on a monthly basis ranges between 40 and 45. So approximately 42.3 is the age of our normal applicant list. Seniors they do apply individually. They come in, or there's some advocate, whether it's a family member or an agency, that will call us and say, can you help this person? Seniors are now seeking rooms, studio apartments, and one-bedroom units because they think the price will be lower, the rent is going to be lower. And technically it is, but then whether they can afford it or not, especially if they're depending on their pension, that's another story. So we have to look at all areas of where they can get revenue. We're finding that there are a lot of male seniors who are just content living in rooming houses and transitional housing. Now, we have a variety of models of housing, and I can get back into the model a little later, but many of our senior men are opting for rooms in rooming houses. You know, there's a lot of reasons for that. And the current tenants that we have that are seniors, that are getting older, like maybe in their 80s at this point, their 70s, they're looking at, many of them are in units that are not accessible. That means units without elevators, units that do not have all the accessibilities that they need because of their medical complications or the physical ailments. So Bermuda Housing Corporation has to look at how do we manage this client base? Do we look at them moving to lower units, moving out? What else is there out there to assist these families, these seniors? We do have quite a lot of family support. We have children. They always come and check on their parents. But again, in terms of housing, we have to look at what is adequate, what is going to be safe, and what's going to be appropriate for seniors. And we're doing a lot of that. We're looking at different styles and different models of how we can do this.
We at Caldwell Banker really are assisting seniors in the area of downsizing. A lot of seniors are finding that it is necessary now either to move in with family members because where they live currently, they have problems with stairs, they can't get out, transportation issues, they can't drive anymore, it's too far to walk to the bus stop to get on the bus. So we are helping in the area of helping them sell their houses or condos when they're moving back in with family members. But a lot of seniors don't want to move back in. They would rather be on their own. And we currently in Bermuda, other than what John has talked about, have 399 beds available to senior citizens in the various homes. There are 10,600 seniors collecting pensions right now. We have a massive problem in front of us as a country. So there are various things that can be looked at. I don't think government wants to take on the responsibility of housing for seniors, so they're looking into private initiatives. They're talking to contractors to see if they can build facilities that would accommodate a senior. Elevators, dining rooms, swimming pools, libraries, hairdressing places in this. But because we're so limited to property size in Bermuda, it's difficult to move forward with this. We have several people that are living in homes that will become impossible for them to stay in because they have stairs getting up to the house, stairs in the house. They need a single level area to live in. It's difficult to help because currently the property inventory in Bermuda is at a low. There's lots of people out there, they're buying up. So we're seeing the inventory at a low. What solutions do seniors have? Well, they could have senior sharing. For example, they might have a friend that would come in and live with them. They would share expenses. They could share live-in care if they need it. Under the future care policy, I understand that there is so many hours per month where they can have someone come in, live with them, and help them do things. There's no such thing in Bermuda as a reverse mortgage. Government is looking and speaking with some of the banks to see if they would consider that. I've spoken to the banks before I came to this meeting today to see what their thought is on this. And they don't want to become landowners or landlords. So they really are not interested in reverse mortgages like they have in the States and Canada and some European countries. It's a difficult situation for seniors because, just as John said, to pay groceries, rent, etc., is becoming impossible. And not everybody is at the same economic level. We have a lot of people here who have worked hard to pay their mortgage off and educate their kids in school, but have nothing left over. So the only thing that they have is their property. They need to consider selling the property and moving into a facility, if we had enough, to house them. But the solution is a difficult one that costs a lot of money, and it's going to involve the input from the private sector as well as government to move all of this forward. The house sharing is a solution that I see could exist. The other thing that they have in other countries is when you become 45 or 50, you can purchase an insurance plan. It's almost like an annuity. You pay into it until you're 65, and that at 65, you start drawing down on this. I don't think any of the insurance companies here offer that yet, but it's something that could be looked at both by government and perhaps age concern. Any creative thing that can be done to help seniors with cash flow has to be looked at. So from a real estate standpoint, we don't see much out there, but there are other solutions that can be looked at.
Okay? Thank you. Certainly doesn't sound very encouraging yet. Maybe there's some good news to come. We're going to give you an opportunity after the panelists have had a short say on this question. We're going to then ask people if they have some questions. This could be an all-day topic, and we've got to have somehow, they put it in my hands, I didn't say capable hands, of trying to keep it to a limit. So first thing I'll do is stop talking and move on to the next question is, how are your respective agencies and/or Bermuda as a whole, for that matter, equipped to address current and future housing challenges? Okay, who wants to take that on first?
All right, okay.
Okay, Bermuda Housing Corporation, we have quite a number of models, and it ranges anywhere from rooming houses to transitional housing to regular rental units, shared accommodations. One of the suggestions that, as well as what Michael had spoken about, is the type of housing that could possibly be used for seniors. Instead of them living on their own, maybe there should be a shared accommodation, a rental unit, a cottage, where a three-bedroom unit, a four-bedroom unit, it could be shared. They each have their own bedroom, and then they share all the common areas. That's something that maybe in the private sector, if someone owns a home, like you said, Michael, they can have their friends maybe even move in, or maybe even work out a plan. If two people own a house, they could rent out one and share the rent. So what we can do at Bermuda Housing Corporation, because we have units all over the island, because you might have people who just like living in Somerset, and we might be able to figure out a few units that we could use as shared accommodations. That does come with some challenges, of course. It could be personality challenges, it could be rules and regulations, who didn't clean up the bathroom today, it could be a lot of that, and that's why if you're living with maybe a friend, those could be reduced, but when you're living with strangers, then, like I said, it does come with numerous challenges, but that's an idea. Not everybody wants to live in a rooming house type of facility, and we really would not want our seniors to be living their life out in a rooming house. But if we can somehow do some form of shared accommodation, even if it's a smaller rental unit for two people, and also share that care and clean and housekeeping and those types of responsibilities, then that's something that we can do with the properties that we currently have. Because I can tell you, I don't think Bermuda Housing Corporation is building anything else in the near future.
Thank you. I think the Bermuda Housing Trust has a good foundation on which to do some things for seniors in Bermuda. And I say that because notwithstanding that the trust was created back in 1965, 50 years ago, someone then had the foresight to recognize the problem that could develop in Bermuda. And I give credit here, I think the gentleman's name was Mr. Will Purvis. I don't know if I've got his Christian name right, Mr. Roddy Ferguson, who were the initial drivers. And I don't know whether you remember this gentleman, Reverend George Buchanan. I think he was the first chairman. He was up at Christ Church. And they went about building these properties. And they got the land from government, I think for next to nothing, and then coerced and muscled contractors to help them build the units at really good prices. And if you've ever seen some of those homes, like Elizabeth Hills, Purvis Park, and Hayden, they're lovely, lovely settings with small cottages, which allows seniors the degree of independence about which I spoke earlier. They're small units, yes, one bedroom, and they can never take more than 2 adults, a husband and wife. I would say our experience with sharing is that doesn't always work. Some of you will know how challenging it is being a husband and a wife. And so you'll know what I'm talking about. That's all I want to say about sharing. It's not necessarily a good option. But what we need to do, and I've seen this in other jurisdictions, what seniors want as they live longer and live a healthier life too, is something known as assisted living, where you build these communities, not gated communities. I'm not talking about Palm Springs or Florida. I'm talking about communities where seniors live, much like we have at the Housing Trust now, but where you have services come in and your government services, whatever they are, under Future Care or anything else, come to the residences so that those seniors get the services they need as and when they need them with dignity. That is so often overlooked when we talk about seniors. And that goes back to what I call quality of life is the issue. There's a great book, if you ever get a chance to read it, called Being Mortal. And I never get the gentleman's name right. He's Indian. It's an Indian name, but he's American. And one of the things he said, and I'll just share this with you, and I'll quote it because it's important. And I don't mean to depress people. He talks about how it's important, if you want to have hope, you also have courage. Courage to face the realities of growing old. And I know most of you know what I'm talking about. Old age is a continuous series of losses. And it is, at the end of the day, a losing battle. We can fight, which we must, but we can manage our losses. But eventually those losses add up, and life's daily requirements become harder and harder to struggle with. But what do seniors want? They want the help that they can live in a home for as long as they can and have that quality of life, that dignity and independence. And we in the Trust are trying to move in that direction. It isn't easy, as you heard me say. We don't rely on government, never have, for a grant. We try to cut our cloth according to our expenses and what we take in rent, and we try to keep those rents down. But we're going to be moving in the coming years towards trying to get greater donations. One of the things that's done, and to build Dr. Can Park, for instance, I'll share this with you. A $12.5 million loan was taken out to build, and I think down there are something like 100 units, and there was a need. I mean, obviously you heard that when I said what the waiting list is. But to pay that loan off, we're now down, that loan was taken out in 2006, and the loan is now down to about $7 million. So you can see what we're still trying to do, what we have to do, I should say, and at the same time maintain the plant. It's not an easy task. But I think as seniors grow in number, seniors are going to have greater electoral muscle than they realize. Let me break that down for you. Your voters and your vote can have a dramatic effect, and will do in coming elections. And seniors are going to have to start through age concern. I have these conversations with Claudette, Dr. Fleming from time to time as well, that there's going to have to be some strong advocacy in order to get us going in the right direction. And we all know, and I think it's fair to say without sounding churlish, that seniors, their horizon is tomorrow, not tomorrow's way down the road. And we're trying to wrestle with that, and I think at the Housing Trust, we're positioned to help in that fight, and indeed, that's what we're committed to doing.
An area that we find seniors sometimes have difficulty in is managing properties that they own. Some seniors may have a house with 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 apartments. As they get older, they find it stressful to deal with the tenants. We can help in that area from the property management standpoint, in that we would take that stress from you now. I'm dealing with a lady now who has worked until she was 65. She's become very ill, and she can't handle the stress. So she gave me a call and she said, is there somebody in your organization, because I'm strictly sales, that can help me to manage my properties? And we have that help available so that they don't have to deal with the stress. We take care of all the repairs and maintenance that needs to be done, that type of thing, so that at the end of the day, they get the net figure in their pocket, and they're able to give up that stress and live more comfortably.
Thank you. At this time, boy, I tell you, time flies. We'd like to entertain a few questions. I can see, just listening and sitting here, that there are going to be, we'll have to have a special seminar on this where we can talk more about it. But I'm sure there may be a few burning questions from members of the audience, and this will be an opportunity for you to ask a question, and hopefully among our panel there will come an answer that will satisfy you. Okay. Please give your name so that...
My name is Dorothy Trott, and I was thinking the other day about the derelict houses that are in Bermuda, from St. George's to Somerset. If something could be done to those derelict houses, not to repair them, but to tear them down and build them again. Find who they belong to. If they're off the island, find them. And like the trust, if you need place to build more houses for these people, find those people, because there are many, 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 many derelict houses in Bermuda.
What's your opinion on that?
I think we all see derelict houses up and down Bermuda when we travel, and you're absolutely right. I think this is a matter for government. I'm not trying to pass the buck, but I recall some time ago there was a study done of derelict homes, and some of the numbers were added up, and some of the challenges were that a lot of these homes are locked in family disputes, can I put it that way, and no one's prepared to do anything, and someone's got to be prepared to buy them and take them over that way. Maybe the Housing Corporation can speak to this and has better knowledge than I do and closer to this situation. The Housing Trust in the past has simply looked for vacant land on which to build. And I don't want to say anything, but we have our eyes on a piece of land already.
I think I'm going to pass this question over to our general manager, who can speak to derelict housing.
And thanks very much. My apologies for being overseas, but it was a very important occasion for us. Vacant and derelict. For a number of years, the Bermuda Housing Corporation has conducted studies. We actually do have a list of the majority of vacant and derelict properties in Bermuda. But as my friend John has said, This stalled with the AG's chambers because there was a legal issue as to how far we can go along to recapture these derelict properties. The majority of the difficulty was, in fact, family disputes where a brother and a sister could not agree, or a mother and daughter could not agree, and therefore, according to the Attorney General's chambers, there was not much more that Bermuda Housing Corporation could do. That was, I won't say 2008, 2009. We are now in 2016, and at Bermuda Housing Corporation, I used to say many years ago that we were young, vibrant, not so young anymore, but we are still very, very vibrant. We look at issues and difficulties and how we can overcome these issues. And approximately 2006, 2007, there was a serious housing, affordable housing issue, and the Bermuda Housing Corporation came in at that time and did something that was unheard of in Bermuda. We actually constructed then, at that time, what we called condominium developments that were affordable for the lower to middle income people to actually purchase and become homeowners. Now, as far as the seniors are concerned, we now see another opportunity where we can educate. We actually went about around the island giving seminars on how to live together. So we can now do a similar thing in preparation for the challenges for 2016 and onward. So as we get older, and I'm very pleased to say I am officially a member of Age Concerned now, thanks to Charles Jeffers. But as we get older, I think it is time now for us, us being the Bermuda Housing Corporation, the Bermuda Housing Trust, the local real estate agents, to all work together, because we're not territorial. And if there is a solution to be found, we will find it. It's just a matter of, as John has said earlier on, having the courage to do it. And we consider ourselves to be very courageous, and we look forward to embracing that challenge.
Thank you, Barrett.
Well, due to time constraints, we will take one more question, and then we'll have to wind it up. And if there are enough people who wish, we will have to certainly look at putting a seminar on our agenda on the housing situation. Okay, this lady in the back here.
This is a bit scary. I've never done this before, but I came here because of my neighbors, and I want to address Mr. Dill and Ms. O'Connor. We are the neighbors that live in the places you built 50 years ago. We are now 80, 90, some of us almost 100 years old. And we have, according to the last, we live in Prospect, Mary Victoria, Alexander Road. We have the highest, according to the last election, the highest concentration of seniors in one area anywhere on the island. And I think ideally what you want, and this isn't a complaint, by the way, what you want and what we want is to be able to keep our seniors in our homes. But our seniors are finding it very difficult to deal with housing corporations sometimes. And it can be just our water, it can be. And we are treated like anybody, but when you have a 90-year-old woman who is doing she's spent a lifetime paying for a house, raising her children, lives on her own, and recently we had a serious problem where they changed our lights. They took out estate lights and they put street lights in. And we live in darkness now. They've put an extra light in here or there. And when we say something, they say, sorry, we want to save money, that's it. And the thing is, it hit home with me, and the reason I came today was a senior citizen that lives behind my house. She is 89 years old. Every night for years, she has gone over with a cup of tea and a couple of biscuits and sat with her 90-year-old neighbor. They have been neighbors for almost 50 years. They're family. We are family up there. Now, because of the new lighting, she can't do that. She's scared to go out at night. Now, whenever we call, we get a runaround. You have to call this person. Miss Tweed's great. I'm not complaining. But is there any way we could get an advocate, not just there, but Cedar Park and all the other housing corporations? could we get an advocate for our seniors? Not for everybody, but for our seniors. And secondly, could this advocate be our advocate, the Housing Corporation, and hear us and listen to us, because we have special needs. And secondly, there are 4 empty houses up there that are very suitable for seniors. And they've been sitting empty, but they'd be ideal because they don't have steps or anything. And I promised my neighbors I would come, and that's why I came, but I don't normally come. Okay?
And thanks very much for that. I can tell you that I am disappointed that you say you don't get the quick response to the from the Housing Corporation, because where the Prospect development is concerned, I'm there at least once every 2 weeks that I come up and try to address the issues, and we are in fact working as we speak. We are working on the additional lighting for the Cedar Park and the Mary Victoria Way. So I can tell you that, and you do have many advocates there as well. I work very closely. I won't call their names, but some of them are in the room now. I work very closely with them because they have started an actual neighborhood type of watch, and they look, and Cedar Park, Mary Victoria, they actually look after each other. So as soon as I get a request, we try to work on it as expeditiously as possible. So please feel free to give me a telephone call and discuss the individual that you're talking about. As far as 90-year-old, please feel free to call Housing Corporation. I'm very, very accessible.
Just one other thing. The lights you put in are street lights. We need estate lights. We
Yes.
need lights that go around, that light up our whole, and what you're doing now is just putting another street light in.
Well, I can tell you that we are actually working with engineers who have given us the recommendation as to how to correct the lights that we put in the streets. You're quite right. We did put in the street lights. There was solar panel, and it was a cost-cutting venture to put those street lights in, because as everybody appreciates right now, we are trying as best as possible to cut expenses. But the lights, after they were erected or installed, then the complaints came in and additional lights have been ordered. So you should see some relief very, very shortly.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause to our panel and our extra panelists. It's very difficult for him to sit in the room and be quiet. I've known him for many years, and I'm sure he will not deny that. We want to thank you. Linda Smith was supposed to be giving the vote of thanks. She unfortunately had to leave. She what? She's assigned it to you, okay? And so we will ask our secretary of our board, Mr. Audible Simmons, if he will come and give some brief closing remarks as he addresses his brothers and sisters. Yes, okay. I have just been informed and instructed to let you know, because of the importance, we will definitely be putting on a session on housing. All right?
Thank you, Brother Chair, and the panel at this point. You've already been thanked many times by our audience, and to be very honest with you, sitting there, I said, well, this is a good panel, and you gave us some very helpful bits of information with respect to housing, much of which I didn't know about. I'll talk to you in a bit, too. Ladies and gentlemen, just to indicate what my values are with respect to this, I think Age Concern has done an woman's job in making this event today. Can you, is that right? And also, I would like to acknowledge that just last year, at this forum, we had Claudette Fleming as our principal leader at Age Concern. This year, we have Dr. Claudette Fleming. So what we've done here today clearly needs some follow-up, and I'm sure the executives of Age Concern will follow up, and you will be hearing more from us, particularly with respect to housing. And I don't see any magic about this. I've been in many parts of the United States, and I'm not making a speech, I'm finishing here, been in many parts of the United States, and I've seen over and over in north, south, east, and west of America these assistant housing projects, assistant living projects, and they are good. They are good, and if any of you go to the States and you can get an opportunity to visit these places, do so. I just come back from a trip where I went to a over 65 or whatever it is, old people's luncheon. I was invited as a youngster. But in any case, it's a lot happening for people over the age of 50, 60, 65. And I think we here in Bermuda deserve to be acknowledged for the contribution that we as old people have made to this country when we were young people. We do want to thank you, members, for coming out, and we ask you to spread the word about Age Concern, because we want to go from strength to strength and usefulness to usefulness, and we want to make our Age Concern people feel young. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Just one reminder, many of you have children who have gone the age of 50. They should be members of Age Concern. A lot of times we're preaching to the people who have already gone 65, 70, 80. We need the younger ones before they get to 65 so they can be better prepared than we were. So please encourage your daughters and your sons, your nieces and nephews who are 50 plus to become a member of Age Concern so that they too can be a part of not just the problem that we're having, but also an integral part of the solution that we need to move our country forward. Thank you for attending. Thank you for all that you do for Age Concern, and God bless you as you go.